What up, world? Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. You already know what it is. Welcome to Waxvillain Fireside Chat. We got greatness in the building. My sisters from the Toronto Soul Club are pulling up for a Fireside Chat. That's DJ Blush, DJ Misty, DJ Nico. Keep it locked. We'll kick things off real soon. Appreciate everybody on the line. Toronto Soul Club in the building. DJ Blush in the house. Love Soul Productions. I see everybody. Appreciate all of y'all. Hello, how are you?
Hello.
I'm so excited to finally see y'all over video. This is so cool.
It's so nice to be here, Wax. Thank you so much. Hey, T.
Hey. This is my first live stream, I think.
I think this is like my first two, actually.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
Let me tell you something. Y'all are looking like pros right now with the good lighting and the backdrops. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
But my lighting, I need better lighting.
So you got the backdrop working for you, T. You're all good.
Yeah.
How's the day going?
It's going very well, thank you. How about you?
Zero complaints. Finished work. Ready for the live stream, you know?
Nice. Excellent. Thank you again for having us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Amazing.
DJ Misty just joined. We'll send that request.
Excellent. I haven't seen her face in a hot minute. I'm excited. Yay!
What up, Misty?
Hello, hello. Good morning from Japan.
Hi, Mama.
Wow.
Hello.
Looking good.
The backdrop, though, behind Misty. I got questions. That's fantastic, y'all.
This is the aftermath of a collection and a record store. So
Okay.
Amazing.
And it's where I get the best sun.
You know, sunlight is so important. I've learned that the last couple of years a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I see we got about 13 on the line. If y'all are ready, I'll kick things off.
Do it.
I want to welcome everybody to Waxvillain Fireside Chat. Fireside Chats are similar to interviews. However, we take the time to do the research so that we're not duplicating efforts. More importantly, we want to support and strengthen what's already out there. We got a gang of questions. I'm thinking like 55 minutes plus. We got show and tell, which I'm really excited about. Now, folks, this is the second live stream of the Soul Club Fireside Chat series. Tonight, I'm joined by the Toronto Soul Club. That's DJ Blush, DJ Misty, and DJ Nico. Now, what's really cool about all this is that my exploration of the Soul Clubs and everything like that really took off about maybe a year and a half ago. And I can remember reaching out to the Toronto Soul Club account being like, yo, let's do a live stream. And, you know, it took time, but I think it was fantastic because it allowed me to learn more about the club, the scene, the music, and so on like that. So when it came time to do this discovery and I was doing my research on all of you, I felt like I was reading about like the Toronto Soul version of the Wu-Tang Clan coming together to make, you know, the TSC.
That is the
I'm really
hugest
excited
compliment in the world.
That is
well, hey, it's the truth. I mean, your resumes are very long, and I think, you know, the knowledge that you'll be able to share with us, giving us a lens into the Soul Club scene, specifically in Toronto, is going to be invaluable. So I just want to welcome y'all. I'm so happy to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Wax. It's an honor, really.
Absolutely.
And to be lumped up with these girls is also another huge honor. So
I love it. I love it. We got all the tiles filled. This is a party, as close to a party as we can get on a live stream. So
yeah,
amazing.
So I want to talk about anniversaries because this month is very important. In particular, this marks 7 years celebrating Toronto Soul Club. Let's talk about 2015. I want to talk about how this came about, what was life prior, who are the key players involved in spearheading this effort, and if you can just list off who's part of Toronto Soul Club.
I'll see if I can remember everyone's name. So
I wrote them down today.
You got this. You got this.
Literally, I have to write everything down now. But yeah, so it's myself, DJ Misty, DJ Nico. We also have Splatter Monkey and General Eclectic, who often DJ'd and still do together. And together they kind of came in. We got Parkdale Funk. We've got DJ Gramera and Dennis P, who's a part of the Northern Soul Horns. He's one of the best sax players in the country.
Wow.
And
The world.
he's amazing. And him and DJ Gramera used to do this night where he would spin, Rare Soul 45's reggae, and Dennis P would play sax over top of it. It was
Wow.
amazing. Am I missing someone?
Done?
I think that's it, right?
That's all of us, yeah. And it was Dennis who brought us all together. Am I right?
It's correct. It's
Okay.
correct.
So
Yeah.
he
I
had
had done a little bit of research on Dennis, and so I was hoping that he could be here because I just saw how vibrant of an individual he is, how much he loves music, but more importantly, like the Toronto scene and what he's given of himself into that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All of y'all were doing this, though, well before the Toronto Soul Club. So can you talk to us about what Toronto was like prior, what y'all had been doing as collectors, DJs, that kind of thing?
I can start.
Well, yes, please.
Cool. So, and like a few of us were running some soul parties around that time that we all got together. So, yeah, 2005. 2015. So a few of us had already been DJing or doing radio shows. So I think Misty was radio show at Ryerson. I was working at CIUT, which is part of the University of Toronto's radio station. Yeah, we all were around each other, going to each other's gigs. And then Dennis, I guess I don't know if there were very many people playing Soul 45s before us. There were one-off parties here and there. But I think around that time is when there were a lot of parties going on that were most, like, for us, we were the people playing records, playing vinyl. And Britt was also DJing as well, but she was playing digital, but we were all doing parties, very soul focused. But the cluster of us were the ones that were playing records. Then Dennis approached and just said, hey, something is going on. Let's get together and try to support each other and organize events with each other. So we were thinking about doing block parties, doing like a weekend or all-nighter. So we were, wanting to delve into doing things like that, as well as just run a blog. So we started a blog club and all the social media channels. We just started getting it going. We talked about events. We did have a few parties that we did together.
Yeah, we did a couple at the Piston.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we had all these like big ideas and stuff. It just didn't seem to. It was coordinating stuff. It's just like impossible.
And that's the hard thing sometimes, because all of us, there were the eight of us, we're all busy DJs. We're all, we were all working, DJing a lot. So between that plus all the red tape of actually organizing something like an all-nighter in a city where, like, an all-nighter is tricky somewhere like Toronto, because you can only serve alcohol until 2 a.m. Bars are only allowed to stay open until 3 a.m. So the logistics of running an actual all-nighter as opposed to a regular DJ club night, it's a bit tricky to finagle with the red tape. Same goes even for a block party, which was something we really wanted to do for the community, because that was a huge part of starting Toronto Soul Club as well. We were already doing events and parties, which only got strengthened once we kind of united together. But we also wanted to try to bring soul music outside of just the nighttime bar and club scene, but bring it to the greater community at large as well. So that was kind of the idea behind wanting to throw a block party, because it's afternoon, families can come.
Yeah.
It's a lot more inclusive in that regards. You don't have to be someone who's going out on a Friday or a Saturday night type of thing. But again, unfortunately, especially when you want to do something that could involve children or families, daytime, public space, it's a lot of red tape. And when you've got 8 different people who are already incredibly busy, it unfortunately, it did not come together. Not to say it never will.
Yeah.
Just that it hasn't yet.
Yeah. Well,
I like that attitude.
last year we did our live stream, and
Right,
that was the
that
first
was
time we were all
amazing.
together, really. Like, I think
Yeah.
for real, because what other, everyone's online, and what other choice did we have? But that was the first time we were all together doing an event for our anniversary, and it was awesome. That literally went all day too. That was really cool.
Did.
Yeah.
It
That was
really
awesome.
did.
That was a great day. Yeah.
Very cool. What was the Toronto music scene like, and what kind of soul seemed to really move the city the most when you were throwing the parties?
I mean, we're so lucky in Toronto. Like the music scene and the soul scene have always been quite robust. Oh, you can tell I'm drinking coffee. I'm using coffee descriptive words. Robust.
Robust.
It's a
Yeah.
good corporate
We've
buzzword.
been
I like
really
it. I
lucky.
knew what you meant.
There's so much talent in Toronto. There's so many music fans in Toronto. So we've always been really lucky in that regard,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. I fell into DJing from being in a band myself. And when I was in college, I was going to school for graphic design, but really on the weekends and stuff, I was writing a blog and interviewing bands and trying to get passes to like Toronto Music Week and shit like that, because that was essentially what I wanted to do for a living with my free time. But it all came down to, like, I just never wanted a real person job. So I just wanted to do whatever I could to, meet people, get opportunities, and doing things I love. And from getting into the music scene in Toronto, which, early to mid 2000s was very like, indie rock. And there was like the big burst of the indie rock scene with like, the White Stripes and the Strokes, and everyone was going out dancing again. And then there was a lot of, amazing dance music and like, that whole scene. And so there was that going on, as well as, when I was old enough to start going out to clubs and shit and go to events, and I realized there was a soul scene. I was like, what? Because I was just trying to see what, I would go to my favorite places where my friends went, and amazing places and amazing parties. But, I found this party called, there was Blow Up, which is a massive soul party in Toronto, which I was just old enough to catch the tail end of when it was really going.
Okay.
And then there was Shake a Tail, was a huge party for me, which was more like 50s, 60s, like 50s rock and roll, 60s soul. And I loved that night. And there was a bunch of other little ones where, when I found these nights and these people, I was like, I found my people. I found them, and realized there's so many of us out there, in this city and in this world. I mean, now that going online, the amount of friends all of us have made with people all over the world is insane.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And to your point real quick about, like you said, finding your people. I think when you ask somebody what soul music means to them, there's one particular response, and it usually doesn't start with words. It's the eye contact. And you know right away whether that person is moved by the music the same way that you are. So I love that little sentiment in there.
Awesome.
Also, a lot of music festivals also early 2000s. So Canadian Music Week by Northeast, which is the equivalent of West. There was all these things that were happening in the late 90s into the 2000s, and a lot of touring artists did Toronto. A lot of them didn't stop off in Montreal or Ottawa. We just seemed to be a hub for a lot of those bands. So we did get the show, the Betty Levette's, also the Jazz Festival coming up in June. Also, artists just came through Toronto that really infused more and more interest in bands starting up, playing funk, playing soul. And Toronto has a very long history of soul and funk from, the 60s into the 70s. Young Street Strip was the center for blues, R&B, lots of artists that came through Toronto, jazz artists as well.
Yeah.
Long there, and luckily there's been ebbs and flows of interest and bands coming up, and having enough venues. Like that's one thing that is always just venues lost over the years.
Wow.
To construction, to condos going up, and just greed.
Yeah.
We've
The
lost
culture, the
spaces.
culture that people are moving to the city for is slowly disappearing because by them moving, they're kind of killing the culture in the process, unfortunately.
The rent is too
Wow.
damn high. The rent is
Yeah.
too damn high.
The artists can't afford to live in Toronto anymore, so the people
That's the
making the
truth.
best
It's getting
art
expensive
are
to live
moving
everywhere.
out. I mean,
Yeah.
I live in Osaka, not Tokyo, but it actually blows my mind how much cheaper Osaka is than Toronto. For a very similar sized city, Osaka is a bit bigger, and again, full of arts and culture and creativity. And Osaka is way cheaper than Toronto. And it even blew my mind that Tokyo is a lot more affordable than Toronto. Tokyo is the biggest city in the world.
You're kidding
I would
me.
have never thought that.
And it's crazy. And Tokyo is crazy expensive. Don't get me wrong. But people also typically the cost of living is high, but people also make pretty high incomes in Tokyo compared to Toronto. So it ends up balancing out, and it's a lot more affordable than Toronto, which is mind blowing to me.
I was gonna say I'm married to a professional drummer of like 30 years, and he's incredible, and you know he's constantly busy. Everyone wants to work with him, and he's lucky in that sense. He's a great drummer, but you know he obviously does gigs of all types. He'll do tours, and he'll do studio work, or he'll do gigs down the street with his friends, because all of his friends, all of us are all working musicians. We need any gig we can get. You know, we got to pay the rent. It's our jobs. And he's telling me that pretty much the standard rate for gigs for most musicians in Toronto has not changed since the 80s. So they're making the same amount on an average gig night since the 80s. So the charge, people need to be making more money in this city too. They just have to be.
Absolutely.
That's wild. One of my questions was, who are the folks from the city that inspired you before y'all became Toronto Soul Club? And talk to me about what it's like to be a record collector in Toronto. Are there great stores? Are there, busy collectors? Give us a lens in.
Well, one thing that inspired us or at least me anyways, I can't speak for everybody, but key players that inspired me before we joined Toronto Soul Club, honestly, this is going to sound corny, but it's true, are each other, like Brittany, Teresina.
That was going to be
Mike
my answer.
Splatter Monkey. Mike Splatter Monkey, like all of the group that are in Toronto Soul Club. I mean, these are all people, you're all people who, when I was in DJing, I was going to your gigs. And I mean, I think I've learned a lot, honestly, from every single one of you. You know, I've learned a lot. Like, Brittany, how you interact with the crowd is unlike any other DJ, anyone else I've ever met. And I've taken a lot of inspiration from you there. Teresina, I've taken a lot of inspiration from you, especially with my radio-related work. Although I don't think my voice will ever be as relaxing as yours. But
so true.
And of course there were some other people that you mentioned who ran Blow Up, Davey Love. You had the Mod Club guys. Those were all events that I was going to before I even started DJing.
Okay.
And it's hearing records playing in the basement of the Mod Club that made me be like, I want to do this one day. Maybe I could do this. Maybe I can collect enough records and do this. And so, and when we all came together as Toronto Soul Club, to me, it felt like magic, because these are people in the city that I'd been admiring and occasionally sometimes working with, but mostly, just admiring for quite some time and being inspired by. So getting to work together and form this collective was total dream come true, like total dream team.
What a nice answer. Oh.
Yeah,
That's super cool.
I'm a little older than those two, so I was going to blow up. Guess it started around 94, 95. And so, yeah, just a DJ who was doing 60s soul as well as, uh, I guess, mod revival music and indie music from the 90s. So that was my foray into listening to music. I was already collecting records, but more what I was growing up with, so 80s music. But yeah, inspired by definitely Davey Love. And just I worked at HMV, so I was meeting a lot of people who were DJing already in the city. Friends who were collectors who have, like, I can't even compare to their record collection. Thousands of records. I'm just trying to think of Flipped Up Phil. He's an amazing collector from Montreal originally, who was in Toronto. Mimi La Twisteuse, who's also a Montrealer who's into garage. She also helped put together one of the comps for Girls in the Garage. So friends who do compilation, who had radio shows, who were collectors, who were DJing as well. So across the gamut of people who just love music and in every expression of it. But yeah, in Toronto, we've had some great record shops here. We've also always, from what I remember from 70s into the 80s and 90s, always had record fairs going on once, a couple of times a year. So I was always traveling out to go to Etobicoke or Mississauga, which is like half an hour out of Toronto or almost an hour out of Toronto, to go to large record fairs, and people were coming in from Detroit, London, Ontario, Montreal, Ottawa.
Oh, wow.
Record stores have come and gone over the years. Amazing stuff. Anything from more common records. There was Cop's Vortex. Cop still exists, but Vortex was amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Driftwood, Rotate This. Record Peddler was another big one.
Record Peddler. That was my high school store. When I was in high school, I loved shopping there.
Sam the Record Man was a big record shop right at the Yonge Street Strip that, had amazing records there. So yeah, great city for record collecting, purchasing. But a lot of what I've been doing is with traveling is where I buy a lot of my records.
Sure. Yeah.
Super cool. I don't know if Britt wants to say anything as well.
I was going to say the same. Sam Record Man, first place I ever bought an LP when I was like 11 or 12. I've been buying LPs my whole life. I've just actually in the last 5 or 6 years started getting seriously into 45 collecting, or buying as much as I can. And Misty and T were both very big inspirations for that. And going back to the original question, these ladies straight up are my inspiration for DJing. I knew of Teresina from afar for years and years, and Misty and I actually went to the same high school, but we never really crossed paths because we were in different grades. And so when I started going to the Bovine, I walk in and I'm like, that's the cool girl from high school with the Chelsea haircut. And because I would literally like see her on the halls and be like, and then I see her DJing at Bovine and I'm like, she's cool as shit. And now we're like friends and it's awesome. So the crazy world. But yeah, Played a Record is a great one. And Rotate and Cops. And I'm also I know it doesn't count, but I'm extremely I need to get off Discogs, and I'll just leave it at that. But yeah.
Tell me about it. Discogs, midnight, 4 a.m. is a problem.
No. But we have been very spoiled in Toronto with record shops. Yeah.
Yes.
That's very cool.
I mean, totally. I've even actually, believe it or not, had some really good luck at Sonic Boom, which is a record store in Toronto. Okay. Mainly, I would say predominantly indie rock music for the most part, but they also have a lot of like jazz and funk and soul and mostly newer pressings of records. Yeah. However, there is like any good record store has a good dollar bin. Yeah. And they do have their kind of cheap 45 section, and I guess maybe because the people who work at Sonic Boom aren't necessarily geared towards 50s and 60s music or soul music.
True.
I have found me some gems in that dollar bin that are definitely worth more than $1.
I
Why
believe
am I
it.
talking
Misty,
like
you
that?
should
Why am I
see
talking like that?
their their
But
45 collection has massively grown. I was just there last week and I was like, yeah.
ooh,
So
ooh,
next time you're in town, bring some
I'm so
cash.
overdue. I'm so overdue for a Toronto trip and
So
record dig.
a couple things. I don't know what y'all are talking about with dollar bins because I've never had the luck that everyone else talks about with dollar bins. So I usually skip them. But, you know, now that I love 45s the way I do, I might try and explore them more. But my goodness, everyone's always told me about the dollar bins having gold. I've never seen it. Um,
It's
Misty,
rare.
Misty, I noticed there's a +1. Are we going to ignore the fact that there's an elephant in the room right now? Somebody you'd like to introduce us to?
Oh, this is Yoshitora.
Yeah, Yoshi. Hi.
This is
Super
my little
cute.
guy. So yeah, he's just over 4 months now,
Wow.
and he's he's my little shadow. So he's
I love
usually
that.
anywhere that I am.
That's awesome. DJ
Thank
Nico,
you.
so one of the things that really, moved me was how you got connected to soul, which was through British pop and mod culture. And I'm wondering if you can just kind of tell us how you found that music first and what you learned as you were kind of exploring and discovering those records that took you to soul.
I think because of being into mod culture and 60s music, it's just doing the history and working backwards on some of the covers of songs and artists that I liked, who they were inspired by. So I think that's mainly how like my mainstay is girl groups and discovering songs like loving the Beatles, but then knowing, Baby It's You was the Shirelles, and then going back finding out, oh, the Shirelles, what are they all about? So yeah, and understanding record labels, so Redbird and all sorts, and then suddenly discovering other artists through the record label. I think that's how I started. So I always liked 60s music through my dad.
Okay.
But he liked all the popular stuff. So it was, I already had an ear for that music. Then through, even through the 80s, there were a lot of covers of 60s music and fashion style in the 80s inspired by stuff. Through that as well. But yeah, slowly getting to know artists, discovering more and more, like who produced this record, and who played on that record. Suddenly it's like, oh, I need to look into Curtis. He did some songs with the Shirelles, and then just discovering through 6 Degrees who's worked with who, and doing my research, and then learning through friends, talking to friends about stuff, and then going and hearing them DJ, hearing a song and being like, oh, I'm so blown away by that. Where did that come from? Oh, it's a British R&B band that comes off by a blues artist from earlier in the 60s. That kind of stuff.
Yes, connecting the dots of everything.
Absolutely.
It's so much fun. It's fun to do.
Major woke moments.
Yeah.
Now, what exactly is mod culture and how does that fit into Toronto?
Wow. The mod culture, I guess it's short for a person who on the cusp of style, fashion, music. So it came out of the 60s, and a lot of it was inspired by Black culture and black music, Black style. It was mainly jazz artists. So it happened mostly in England, but it was them discovering Black music, whether it's soul, and yeah, very much about quality of clothing, music, style. Just really craftsmanship in terms of fashion, looking very sharp. And then as part of it, scooters became part of it as well. So things
Mm-hmm.
fashion Italy as well as American music all inspired mod. Yeah, yeah. Because in terms of Toronto, a lot of what happened here was more. Yeah, I mean, 60s British culture influence over all mod culture. So there were a lot of some. I my first people that I was exposed to were into mod or skinhead culture. Had sneakers, wore docks, wore creepers. Yeah, it was very much. So it was 80s music, but also music and culture. So it was very vibrant here in Toronto. We always had a mod scene. There were a couple of clubs that would play that music, but also was infused with what was going on in the 80s with British culture. So it would be the 60s stuff, the mod revival music, but then it would be the Smiths and Depeche Mode and or other bands like that. So very much there's always a long history. So into the 90s when, again, British culture started
Britpop,
popular and Britpop
Yeah.
infused all of that again. So it's always been around. It's been popular and then would be more obscure, popular. When the soul stuff started to happen in the thousands with Toronto Soul Club, that's when soul was really popular. There was like 5 parties going on in the city that were playing soul music.
Yeah.
Yeah, write it down again, but you know, there's always
Yeah.
we'll see. I think we're on the cusp of another.
I think so.
Yeah.
It just never gets old. Like it does. It never gets old ever.
No,
How did
and
you
I
ladies
think
connect to that?
Well, for me, what I really liked was just even how inclusive the style of music was, soul music, because, you know, yeah, you've got your mods and skinheads, non-racist skinheads, of course, anti-racist skinheads, and, you know, soul music fans who would go out to these nights, but you also had your regular Joe, for the lack of a better word. Like you also had people that weren't necessarily into mod or vintage culture in any way, shape, or form. They just, you know, it's Saturday night. You want to go, you know, they want to go out and cut loose and just go dancing and have fun. And they would be showing up at our nights where we're playing, you know, a lot of 50s, 60s, even into the 70s stuff. And, you know, and they're just losing their shit saying like, you know, oh, my parents used to listen to this maybe or something. But, you know, it was kind of just bringing it back for a lot of people as well. And just having these parties that were very inclusive because, like I said, you didn't have to be part of this set scene to come out and have a good time. And so that to me gave me a lot of energy around the soul music scene in Toronto, having people coming out and just finding this music either for the first time or kind of refinding it. And, you know, we would play, I think one thing that was important in a lot of our parties in Toronto is that we did play and do continue to play a lot of underplayed and rare music, but also with the desire to be an inclusive party or have inclusive parties. You know, we would also sometimes play a lot of the more mainstream hits too, because those are the songs that people know, they can connect to. You know, and ultimately in a big city like Toronto, people aren't necessarily wanting to go out to be schooled or to be educated all the time.
Sure.
Especially by 1 a.m. and you've had a few drinks and you're just having fun with your friends. Sometimes you want to hear something you can sing along to at the top of your lungs, or you know, and so there has to be for me at least, I found, and I think, well, Terzine and Brittany, you both do this really, really well too, finding that balance so that you can introduce some new incredible songs to people. And if you're good at DJing and you're keeping that party going, it's very easy to sprinkle in songs that people haven't heard necessarily and
Yep.
keeping the energy going, but also still, you know, keeping it with that inclusive feeling of being like, you know, this isn't just a party of songs that you've never heard before.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, bringing people in with songs that they do know and love already, and that just opens them up to this whole new world
Yeah.
of incredible music, just like it did for all of us at some point.
That's
So
so true.
I think that's been something that's important, and something that I think all of the Toronto Soul Club DJs have done really, really well. And part of why a lot of our nights have such longevity to them,
Yeah.
because you can play enough rare stuff to please even the most, you know, underground record collector. But at the same time, somebody who's just walked into the club for the first time in their life, they can also feel like they're part of the scene and part of the party and part of the event as well.
Yeah.
So whenever you come to any of our parties, I hope people don't feel like outsiders, because we just want to bring everybody in and have a good time.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better.
What I love about that, and this is something that I think about with what I do, trying to bring people to the soul scene to explore this music. I think it has to be done somewhat carefully, because I think about a lot of things. One, you can get a year-long subscription to stream music for about maybe $150. You can also spend that same amount of money on one record. And so I love the fact that you've played music that people not only know, but is actually accessible. They can actually gently get into collecting and explore on their own journey without feeling like, whoa, I can't touch these $1,000 records. I'm not paying $100 for 2 songs on an old piece of vinyl. So that's really important. I think it's awesome that y'all do that. I'm really glad you brought that.
And I mean, not everybody can afford that too. Like, I've had DJs who are starting out come to me and ask me, and I don't want to open this can of worms because it's a massive debate, the OVO versus reissues, you know.
I love this one
debate.
though.
I do too, to be honest.
How much time do you have, Wax? How much time do you have?
No, I'm gonna try to make it 30 seconds or less, okay? And just say, like, I'm a nerd. I love my OVO records. Don't get me wrong. I always try to source and find the original, because that's my nerdy hobby, is record collecting. So for me, it makes sense to want to do that and have the original of something. That gives me the utmost satisfaction. However, I recognize there is a massive, massive privilege in doing that and in being able to do that. Both having the time to hunt these records down, having the money to pay for some of these records that aren't cheap, you know, and I think a good DJ is anybody who can make a crowd move, anyone who can make people dance and feel good. And if you need to do that with a laptop, with an iPod, with a reissue, with an original record, I don't care what medium you're using. If you're playing the great tunes and you're having a great time and you're having fun and you're helping other people have fun, it doesn't matter. Now, there's going to be people who say it does matter, but you know what? Again, I think that's a very exclusive argument to make. You know, and if that's your niche and that's what you do and what you collect, I think that's amazing. And I think there are, like, especially in Japan, there's definitely parties where you can't show up with reissue or bootleg records. Like, you have to have the OVOs. You're going to have people looking over to see what you're playing. But generally speaking, especially at a dance party and having a good time, like, I really think there needs to be more emphasis on playing what you can and what you can afford. So if you can't afford an original of something because it's $2,000, but there is a label like Jazzman, for example, who's doing reissues, and you can buy a great reissue for $10.
Yeah.
If that's how you can afford to have it on vinyl, I would rather see somebody buying it on vinyl and supporting that industry. You know, but again, if the only way you can listen to it is on Spotify, I'm just happy people are listening to great music. What can I say? Yeah, I think Chris just said, what did Chris just say? Whatever inspires the DJ to make the night fun. Well said, Chris, in the comments.
That's it.
I love that.
It's all about the song. At the end of the day, we can fight over what piece of material it's on. It's about the song. That's how it started.
Thank you.
Can everyone shut up already? Sorry. You know what I mean? It's about the song. And then everything else follows that with the love of that song. That's why you collect it. That's why you want 7 copies of it, you know, whatever. Like you get it on wax, you get it on tape, you get whatever. You have it on Spotify. Yeah. You just eat it up in as much as you can and every way you can. That's what the whole purpose of what we all do is about. It's the love of the music first and foremost. And then everything else follows that.
It's also how to craft music together. As a DJ, you can
That's
have
the art. That's the artwork. That's what makes us all different. That's what makes us all stand out in different ways. That's just like the music is the paint and we are the painter, really.
Yeah. It's the difference between a collector and a DJ who also collects.
Totally.
Yeah. There's 2 things that come to my mind. One, I care just as much about the new collector who has the reissue and shares their connection, just as an OG who's got the purest story. But I always think back to what one of my favorite soul sisters said, Samantha Goldie. She said, get the reissue. You can always mint up later. And so I wanted to steal that line, the idea of minting up. Because, you know, if you find that you really love that song and it moves you that much, eventually you will see it. And if it really means that much, you'll go out and get it. But there are certain records that I say, oh my gosh, $250, no problem for that. Where others, I'm like, ooh, you know what? For how it moves me, the reissue is just going to be fine, right? And so that's kind of my motto.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Totally agree. Totally.
Let's talk about 7 years. When y'all reflect on your run and everything, what are the fond memories that you have? Maybe there's a particular night that stands out, something special that happened. Maybe somebody came through the club. Maybe you got a shout out on like Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know. But is there any stories like that you could share?
Oh, there's so many. And a lot of them are really blurry. There's a lot of blurry, hazy memories.
Yeah.
A lot of great nights. Like I've had amazing memories DJing both with both of you. I know with it, I've always had a great time DJing, and a highlight for me with DJing with it is how inclusive the crowd that comes to that party is. I always say if you're playing soul music and I always say not even just soul music, if the diversity of the music that you're playing is not reflected in the crowd or the audience that's coming to hear it and dance to it, you might need to work on a thing or two. Like, I mean, not that that's your fault, but maybe you need to find ways of being more inclusive and branching out to different groups of people to make your parties more inclusive. And that's one thing that I love about with it is that the range of people by, color of their skin to ability, physical ability to how people are dressed. Like, it's just such a diverse crowd that comes, and it makes the energy so electric, I find, at with it. And that's when every time I've gone to with it, whether it's been to DJ or to go and have a great time, I always go with a few friends, but I find myself by halfway through the night, I don't even know where my friends are on the dance floor. I'm dancing with people I've never even met before, and everyone just dances together there, which is you don't see that very often. So that's one of my highlights for with it, and every time I've gone to that party. So it's not just a one-off thing, but that's always a really strong memory I have. Oh my God, Brittany, I have so many incredible memories DJing with you. I don't even know where to begin, but we have thrown some parties for the books.
Yes, we have.
We when we've had some wild ones, we so there's a couple songs that we play that have some downtimes or some quiet moments where we just kind of have our hide behind the DJ booth for a moment and
it's
we're doing.
I'm dying. Are you dying? I'm dying.
We're taking deep breaths and then back up.
That's hilarious.
Oh yeah. No, it's like I said, when we started Toronto Soul Club, we all knew of each other. We're all aware of each other's parties. We all been to each other's parties. We were already friends, but how close we have really become, it's, you know, we are really good friends. We'll be friends for the rest of our lives. And we've
Absolutely.
had, you know, that's number one. And, you know, yeah. So, oh man, I could go on and on and on. There's just so many. I mean, going back to what we were talking about earlier, the beauty of a lot of the venues where we've been all throwing parties in the city, you know, they are every day a different crowd's rolling in. There's a metal show one night. There's a disco party one night. You know what I mean? So, and because of that, that is why there's so many walks of life coming into our nights and staying. Because, you know, especially for Misty and Teresina, you know, a crowd of people who come in and go, oh, what is this place? Oh, they're playing 60s music tonight, or maybe they don't even recognize that because they're, you know, they're just, they don't know. And the fact that they stay, like, that is a massive thing. The fact that they stay and they come back, you know? So
Exactly.
a big applause to these ladies for throwing nights, not only, like, of course, on their own and inspired me to DJ at all, but getting to DJ with them or go to their nights is just, you know, it's a whole other thing. It blows me away and inspires me all the time and makes me want to be, you know, a better DJ, a better person, all that. So
Very cool.
It also helps that we've been able to travel with DJing. So I know that that's been a high for myself, is being able to go to other cities and DJ with other people, that either it's mutual friends that brought us together, or the fact that we've all connected online as collectors and as DJs. So being able to DJ in Montreal and in New York, and Detroit, and Misty, I know, has traveled quite a bit for her DJ. So that's
awesome.
Part of the perks of having a night here, but then people knowing about you, and that's been amazing too. Been like pre-pandemic, where we were stuck at home and technology was the only thing we had. But before then, I had people from Portugal write me. I have a friend from Brazil, or from Toronto, living in touring in England with his band, and telling about a female in the UK coming to Toronto, you know, but just whole family. Mexico with Matt Watson, a DJ.
Oh, I love him.
Born to Be Cheap, which is a DJ night in Mexico City. You know, him connecting. He's originally from Brighton, but living in Mexico, and then contacting my couple of other friends, and then coming here and us connecting him to people in Montreal. So it's just that's just been awesome to all connect with each other and help each other.
Right. He ended up, and it was funny when Matt came to Toronto, I was away, I was in New York that weekend, so he covered my DJ night in Toronto at Davy Love's pub. He covered my night. And then when the night that I got back from New York City, he was leaving for New York City, so we met up and we had a couple drinks. And it was one of those things where, like, we felt like we'd known each other our entire lives. And so we got along really well. I ended up connecting with his partner, Dinep. She's amazing. And I've gone out to Mexico City to visit them a couple of times.
Oh, wow.
They're so
That's
super,
awesome.
super cool.
Wow.
And I can't wait for them to come to Japan.
Speaking of Japan, you know, you've done a lot of globetrotting DJing outside of Toronto. You're a new mom. You're living in Osaka. You're part owner of a record store. Talk to us about life pre-being a mommy and post. And has anything changed in terms of the way the music moves you now?
You know, interestingly, a lot hasn't changed in the way of how the music moves me, but now I'm seeing what music is also moving, you know, my little guy.
Yeah.
He seems to really love music so far, and that, I think, goes from the fact that I DJ'd up until, like, I think 5 days before I gave birth.
Yeah.
Was my like less than a week before I gave birth was my last DJ event. So I was DJing, like, I kept joking how amazing it would be if my water broke or I went into labor while I was DJing. did not happen, but it was very, very close. So, you know, and it was interesting while I was DJing, feeling how he would react in my stomach, like in my belly kind of thing. And now seeing how he reacts to music is awesome. He seems to really enjoy stuff with a lot of bass.
Awesome. Awesome.
So we've been playing a lot of ska and rocksteady since
Love
he's been
that.
born.
Yeah.
He's loving doo-wop music. So a lot of doo-wop. I was just playing like, because I was, you know, I didn't have time to put on records the other day taking care of him. So I just threw on like a playlist, and Yakety Yak came on, and he was losing his mind. He thought it was just like the funniest thing he ever heard. I've never seen him laugh so hard as he did to Yakety Yak. So that's his song. That's our song now. It's replaced Baby Shark, so I'm happy about that.
Well, that's much
Yeah, that's a win.
Yeah.
That's a win.
But really, like, you know, my life has changed. I'm not DJing as much now as I was, you know, 6 months ago, for example. Although I anticipate I'll be back DJing again very soon.
Of course you
and
will.
I'm just kind of I'm trying to keep active as far as, like, I recently made a mix for 45 Day recently. I did an interview with Women in Vinyl. I've got this interview happening right now. So I'm still trying to keep involved. And I mean, we still got the record store. We're still surrounded by records and music. So it's still a very big part of my everyday life, even as a mom. So I don't anticipate too much changing, except now, you know, in addition to trying to make people happy and dance, I'm also trying to make my little guy happy and dance.
That's
Which has
awesome.
been pretty easy so far. So
That's fantastic.
You're the best at it. You're the best at it, Misty. You're the best.
So I'll give you a little tip, because my daughter is 5 years old, a fresh 5 going on 21. I found that the adapters that look like toys, like the El Tristes that are up behind me, and the color variants, they love that stuff. So if you need to get them hooked, just start there with something that's really colorful, get a cool looking adapter, something like that. And that was kind of what drew her in. And I was just so surprised to hear her say one day, "Daddy, I like that song." And I was like, "What? Like, this is great. Come on over."
Do you know what song
amazing.
it was? What song was it?
It was the B-side on the new Sacred Souls 45. I'm drawing a blank.
Oh.
But it's very good. So she got a good taste.
Amazing.
All right, she's going to be my influencer today. I'm going to be checking that out after.
I love that. So I have one more question for you. You know, I've had the opportunity to travel to Europe, travel to Singapore. I haven't been to Japan yet. And I think we've all heard stories about how the record shops are amazing in Japan and everything like that. What's something that you could tell us about record shops in Japan, or just digging culture, that we might not know about?
Ooh. I don't know what you might not know about, but I mean, I think what's really cool about a lot of the record stores in Japan are that they're very niche oriented.
Okay.
So there aren't a lot of vinyl record stores that you go in and it's like every single genre. Even one of the biggest record store chains in Tokyo is called Disc Union.
Yeah.
And they sell records and CDs. But even with Disc Union, like in Shinjuku neighborhood alone, there's maybe like 8 Disc Unions. There's a lot, and all throughout Tokyo. And like there's one, and you kind of have to know which Disc Union to go to, because there's one, for example, that's really amazing for punk and hardcore records.
Okay.
There's one that's amazing for soul and jazz records, which is a little off the beaten path a bit, but it's worth going to. And like, so a lot of the stores are very niche oriented. The record store that my husband and I have is called Nightbeat Records. Shameless plug. No, and we specialize in 50s and 60s music, so a lot of vintage rhythm and blues.
Okay.
And soul mainly. But then there's stores that are mostly focused on rockabilly, or stores that are focused more on modern soul, or stores that are focused more on jazz. So
that's so cool.
It's really cool that way, where if you're looking for specific genres of records, you're going to find stores size-wise, they might not be the biggest, but they're packed just packed full of like some of the most incredible records. If you want ska, like there's stores that are specific to like ska and rock steady, and you're gonna find incredible stuff there.
That's awesome.
And what a lot of people don't know is that a lot of the record store owners here are actually traveling a lot to get records. So, for example, the guy who owns this amazing Rocksteady store, he's going to Jamaica and buying records in Jamaica. For example, my husband is regularly traveling to record shows in the United States and getting records there to bring back here, which is really cool. I mean, it's even so, one of my coolest record digging stories in Osaka is I was looking for a Jones Girls record, which is not something we would have at our record store because it's 70s, so we don't have any 70s.
You can't even put it on the shelf.
Right? So I was going to one of my friend's stores who were in the same building as our store. So I popped into his store to see if he had a copy. Unfortunately, he didn't, but while I was digging in his bin, I found one of my dad's band's records.
Shut up.
From like the late 70s, early 80s. And I'm like, what am I doing in a record store in Osaka? My dad is from Montreal.
That's so wild.
Was living in Toronto. And at the time of that record, I wasn't sure. I'm not sure if he was in Montreal or Toronto yet, but I'm digging and I'm like, Something Extra. And and at first, my first thought was there was another group called Something Extra. And then I'm looking and I'm like, no, the credits, V. Mackenzie, that's my dad. Oh my God.
That's
and
insane.
So, you know, and I was talking to my friend who's the owner of the store, and he was just saying like, yeah, he's traveled. He said he has traveled a lot to Montreal, where that band is from. He said, but he actually picked up that record in Detroit, of all places. So it went from Montreal to Detroit to Osaka, Japan.
That's fun. That's amazing.
That's like, the record store owners here are so serious. It's pretty cool.
That's
pretty
so
cool.
That's awesome. Now, let me ask you this real quick. Is there a website for the record store you own that you can talk about and promote real quick? So that whoever out there, you can look it up on the web. We know where to go.
Absolutely. Actually, now we are online only. So we recently closed our physical store just to focus on online so that we can ship records easily all over the world now. Yeah. So our website is nightbeatrecords.com. And one really cool thing I have to say, like, my husband works so hard every day on this website. It's beautiful. What he does is, even if he has 5 copies of the same song, like 5 records, he scans each record in a high-res scan. So if you click on the page for that record, you'll see that the actual record you're buying, like a really high-res image of it. So if there's 3 different pages, same song, but 3 different records, each page you click on, it's a different image. It might look the same, but it's actually a different image, so you can see the record. He also uploads like really high quality audio files of each record.
That's insane.
So you can hear the record you're actually buying. So like I said, even if there's 3 copies of something, you can open each page to listen to each one. So you can be like, oh, I think this one sounds a little bit better quality, so I'm going to buy this one.
Wow.
So that's above and beyond. That's above and beyond.
Love. It is above and beyond. I've
that's
never
a labor
seen any
of
other
love
record
right
store that does that. So you can actually see and hear the exact record that you're buying, which is phenomenal. And it's so it's also just even it's a fun website to just dig through. Like, his goal now, my husband's goal, is he wants to make our website as close. This kind of came to him over the pandemic when people weren't going out record shopping so much. And he's like, how can I make shopping online have almost the same level of satisfaction as actually being in his store, digging through the crates? And so that's kind of his goal with his website. Our long-term goal, we got really into playing with VR over the pandemic. an Oculus Quest
Oh,
VR
don't even
thing.
tell
So
me you're trying to do a virtual record store.
100%. That's 100% our future goal. We would love to have a virtual record store where you walk in like through VR onto the store and can actually
Yo, that would be
sing.
crazy. I've done virtual
So
reality before. That's a trip.
Just like
that, I mean, I don't know how soon that is going to be, but that's our one day long-term goal, is to have an online store that way. But for now, with the website, again, like, we're trying to make it as close to physically digging in a store as possible. So it's a ton of fun.
wow.
And you know, each page for each record has its own little listening booth, if you will. You can
Two things. I want to
check it
shout
out.
your husband out real quick, because I go into lots
He's
of record
badass.
stores like
He's
a lot
so
of y'all.
cool.
And I think, you know, that level of passion needs to be socialized for people to know. Shoot me the link. I want to put a link in my bio so that people can see the store and go out
Cool.
and look, because that alone in itself, just to see that, is awesome. So give him props for me. I think that's fantastic. Next question, and I'm tracking time, ladies, so, you know, we're gonna have to move a little quickly. I gotta ask you, when I saw the logo for Toronto Soul Club, I just loved it. I've always loved fonts, typography, everything like that. You're a graphic designer, you do the music. Talk about how you fuse the two together.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I designed the logo. I've been an artist since I can remember. I've always loved to draw. My grandfather was a painter and would always shower me with art supplies at Christmas. And I just really got into drawing and art. And I thought, my whole family just thought I was going to be an artist for the rest of my life. But I've always been into music and film and anything just visually striking. So, you know, a lot of movies and album covers, you know, those were the things that I really gravitated towards. And when it was, you know, time for me to pick something after high school to go to school for, because I had to go to college. And I was like, what am I going to do to support myself that won't bore me to death? So I went to school for graphic design, and it was a great time. I loved it. I'm still a freelance graphic designer now to this day. And it's, you know, for me, my first love is poster art. I love poster art. You know, again, it was always very much art and music together that were very much, they're just inseparable for me, I guess. So I'm very much inspired by, like I said, poster art and album cover art, and just very visually striking, poppy things. I mean, I have so many posters on my wall that you can't really see, but they're all from the 60s and 70s. The use of color and fonts was just, I am, you know, in school you learn so much about space and how you use space, and design is basically the communication of shapes and fonts and stuff. But there's just something about, you know, the rock and roll era, I'm talking the 50s to like the 80s, and the use of art with music, you know, the two, like I said, are inseparable for me. But yeah, I love art, and I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can.
When it comes to
you're good at it.
When it comes to inspiration, is there a book or is there a certain album covers that you look to?
That's a very hard answer. It's so hard. I mean, you know, yeah, it's like asking what your favorite song is. You know, I can't. It's just an amalgamation of everything. Like I said, like when I was a kid, and this comes up in almost every interview I do, which is very little. So thank you for having me on today. But the Monkees always comes up, because when I was very young, when I was 4 years old, I became absolutely, utterly obsessed with the Monkees. The TV show had just started into syndication again on Much Music here in Canada. And it was a combination of this 60s boy band, essentially, that were a rock group. And their show was so bright and wacky, and so the Monkees were a big inspiration for me, if that makes any sense. The Monkees always come up. That they'll always follow me around. They're my shadow.
No, I love that, because you were featured, I think it was Crate Diggers, and that's where you talked about maybe the Monkees record, and you talked about all the incredible people that were involved in that record.
Yep.
I love
Sean
that.
the Vinyl Villain. Yeah, he's the best.
Are you familiar with a group called The Circle?
Yes.
So The Circle, they did this soundtrack back in the day. It was for this like X-rated movie, and there's a major
Definitely
drum
seen that
break on
one.
there. Let me see if I can find it.
Whoa. Are we talking like pornography here?
Very much so. Very much
Wow.
so.
Oh,
Wow. Cool. The circle does pull.
Oh, I got it. The Minx.
Whoa.
oh,
That's
wow.
amazing. What does it say? It's
The Minx.
the Minx. Oh my God.
Isn't that amazing?
I
So-
love that.
So listen,
cool.
the reason I got this, like eons ago, is because I loved Flying Dutchman. So I saw that. That was like the first hook in there. I always thought like records from the 60s that were like trying to be like, oh, this is porno, were like, there's got to be something like funky on there. So there's a monster drum break, but this is a really good record. And it was done by a group called The Circle, which I always thought was kind of in that zip code of maybe Monkeys, even if it's kind of like treading the end. Anyways, if you ever see this as a Monkeys fan, come across it, it's definitely worth a listen.
Okay, I'm going to be looking for the Minx everywhere I go now.
If I see a copy here, I'll send it to you.
Thank you, Misty.
I got you too, in case. You know, I'll keep an eye out too. Ladies, as we come to the end, there's two more questions. One of the things I want to cover is show and tell. Did y'all bring some collectibles to show off today?
Yes. You know what? I forgot to grab it before it started, but I can see it, so I'm gonna go grab it.
That works. Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to jump in first because it is going to go in with what I just talked about.
Okay.
I have 2 Monkeys fan books from the 60s.
Okay.
So going back to what I was saying earlier, it's nearly impossible for me to pick a song, you know, a piece of art. If you gave me enough time, I would literally take weeks and weeks and weeks. But I found these really fun because they're original from the 60s. This one was actually given to me by Teresina. It's called The Monkeys Go Mod. And it's a fan book. And there's biographies and photos.
Oh, very cool.
Cool artwork. It's just super trippy.
Oh, wow.
And this is like, this is a fan book, again, the average Monkeys fan at that time was, 7-year-old girl. So there's really trippy stuff, like I was given a copy of Head. Have you seen Head, the movie Head?
I don't think so.
No.
Head is a movie that was written and directed and starred the Monkees. It was also co-written by a very young Jack Nicholson.
Whoa.
And they got really stoned and wrote this movie that makes absolutely no sense. It's called Head. It was released in like 1967, 68. It was like just before they broke up and the show was canceled. It is a total drug trip. It makes no sense. But I was given a copy of this on VHS when I was 5 years old for my birthday. And so you just think about, the average Monkeys fan watching something like that. And that explains a lot about me. And then here's another one. I think this one is from the 70s or 80s. But, yeah, I love collecting original fan books from the
That's so
60s
cool.
and 70s.
Good share.
Again, the Monkeys, I just can't quit them.
I love that.
Who's up next?
I love it.
Do you want me to go, Misty, or?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
You can speak amongst yourselves. I was going to play a record.
Yeah.
Oh, yay!
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yay, I'm very excited. What are you gonna play?
Some of the 45s, the latest 45s that I picked up. So, from Cops Records 2 weeks ago. So,
Nice. I love Cops.
Cops is the best.
So I picked up a, I guess it's a promo copy because it's got the little hole in it, but Mary Wells. Great little tune. So there's the back is a track called Dear Lover, which is awesome, but this is like the dancer on this side. So I'll play the record for us.
Yeah.
Just a couple.
In my head, I can see Kev Darge dancing to this on YouTube right now.
Right?
Yeah.
I could totally picture that at a With It party. Oh,
Yeah.
for like a half of a second, my brain, like I was just transported back at the Piston. It was beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
nice
awesome.
one, Steve.
Yeah, great.
Great share. I appreciate that.
Cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. So my share is actually not music related. I was gonna be really nerdy and share the record compilation that my husband and I released last year called Buzzsaw Joint, which has a bunch of our favorite 45s on this compilation.
What?
Buzzsaw. Yeah, it's on our website on nightbeatrecords.com. There's Buzzsaw Joint. It was put out on Staggerly Records.
Okay.
And so it's for sale through Staggerly, but also on our website too. It has, I want to say, I forget how many songs, but quite a bunch of really good kind of 50s and 60s dance tunes. Oh,
I had no idea.
Well,
I'm going to be
you're
honest with
fucking
you ladies. I think y'all hustled me into getting all three of you to come on. You each need a solo interview for yourselves.
Oh, anytime you want to
we're
talk,
all
Wax, anytime.
available. Yes. But my share for today, like I said, I'm sorry it's not music related.
Doesn't have to be.
Believe it or not. But it's still audio related, so this is cheesy, and I hope I don't cry because I have a hard time listening to this without like getting teary.
Okay. I'm a crier too, so you better not start.
After Yoshi was born, the hospital gave me the coolest gift ever. It's a card that says "Hello, lovely baby," and has his picture from the day he was born, has his footprints, and I have my headphones on, so I'll hold it up to my microphone and hopefully you can hear it. It has his first cry.
What?
So it blew my mind because it's cheesy to say, but it's literally the happiest moment of my entire life.
Oh my gosh.
Was the moment he was born and hearing him cry. So having that recorded on audio, now I need to find a way to get this on wax. But hang on, let's see.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Look at him. He's like,
When he hears it, he's like, huh? His cry's gotten a lot bigger now since this, but yeah,
Wow.
but having a record for somebody, like having important things. The reason why I thought to share this is because some of my favorite memories are associated with music.
Mm-hmm.
And so having records of some of my favorite songs are my favorite. It's like having vinyl representations of some of my favorite moments, some of my favorite memories, huge moments of my life. So even though I know this isn't music, it's not a song, having a recording of that exact moment in my life, it's just one of the most important things in the entire world to me. So that's why I wanted to share that.
that is amazing.
I'm going to keep it real with you. I've seen a lot of cool show and tell stuff on here, but that one definitely takes the cake. It's a one-on-one, very meaningful. Thank you so much.
Very good.
Wow. Wow. All right, ladies. So as we navigated through the pandemic, we all learned how to do things differently than we had done before. I'd like to know about how technology has kind of, influenced, right, Toronto Soul Club, and what's next for you? What can we look forward to from the ladies of Toronto Soul Club?
I'm gonna jump on this one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So literally, the day that we found out we were going into lockdown for pandemic in Toronto, I was DJing a night at this venue now closed called Stone's Place. It was a Rolling Stones theme bar. And I used to be
amazing bar.
Yeah.
Amazing bar.
It was cool as shit. I could go on about this place for hours. it has so much history, so many stories. But I would do it every Friday, Saturday night. Every Saturday night was 50s, 60s, 70s jukebox night. And I'm DJing this night, and it was a little sparse because it was, the week that kind of, the C word hit the, the fan in the world, and everyone was starting to get a little spooked. And I just remember our last night there, all of the staff just being like, well, see you next week, maybe. And we never came back. The place ended up closing during the pandemic, and COVID happened, and here we are now. But a week later, I was just like, okay, well, my life is over, because, it's my full-time job being a DJ in Toronto. It's my full-time job. It's, it's my joy and passion, but it's very much how I pay the bills. And at the same time, that was just like, how do I keep this going? I can't just stop. Like, there has to be a way to keep this going. And, as fast as I could, I figured out how to hook up my whole DJ setup to go online, and I jumped on Mixcloud and Twitch. I think all of us tried Mixcloud, Twitch, Instagram Live, Facebook Live. We were doing everything we possibly could just to connect with everybody, all of our friends at least, and just play music and feel normal. And that's where that whole thing started for me. And all of us at the same time were pretty much, I think, feeling the same thing. And and because of that, like I said, very unexpectedly did not realize at all or could ever know the impact it had in terms of, not just, for ourselves and what we do and sharing our crafts and our love of music, but like I said, becoming friends with people who live on the other side of the world that we otherwise would have never met. And now we talk every day and we support each other's events, and just it goes on and on, like how much the online thing has done for all of us. So yeah, can't thank it enough.
It's been a great way. Like, as much as I was crushed when cities are going into lockdown and events were on hold, there was one really awesome thing about live streaming. Living so far away now, I miss you guys so much. And so getting to continue seeing Brittany's invites for her online events, it made me, at a time when nothing was precedented and nothing was normal and nothing, was predictable, it was so nice to have your events, for example, Brittany, as kind of a constant. And it brought some sense of normalcy back into what we now called very unprecedented times. It brought some precedents back. You brought back the precedents.
Thank you for saying that.
You gave us some precedented times. No. And with your parties too, for With It, it was, and then being so far away and missing you guys so much, it was kind of awesome in a way for me, because I could tune in and basically join your events and parties again without having to get on an airplane and get back to Toronto. So that part of it was really nice. And getting to see you guys more virtually was really, really nice. So I loved that.
Thank you. Thank you for always being there and for throwing your amazing events too, Misty. Like, I love hopping on, and Misty and a bunch of her friends are having cocktails in her living room, and we're taking turns putting on records. I'm like,
I've seen that.
And it's amazing because it's like first thing in the morning for you guys.
Yeah.
It's nighttime here.
But I'm having coffee and I'm
going.
It's great.
There was so much.
Time zones mean nothing.
There was so much connecting with people who we probably would never have met if it wasn't for the pandemic. So even Miss Turner, who's Bogota, on the chat. I mean, days that we even Honey. I don't know if I would have met Honey. Where there were so many DJs, even Java Jones, London, just amazing friendship made, and able to connect and meet like-minded people, miles and miles away, but hopefully all to meet.
That would be so amazing if one day we could somehow all meet. That would be mind blowing.
We'll make it happen. It's gonna happen.
I mean, we're all gonna be itching to, we're all starting to get travel itches, so it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Well, the other thing that I noticed too is that Toronto Soul Club has literally been this platform where you've amplified the sound of other soul clubs, the events they have going on, which I think is fantastic.
Again, like the online thing kind of totally breaks down the walls of city barriers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
exactly. And again, like Teresina really took the rail on that over the last few years. I mean, she's always really been such a supporter of everything in this city. Like, she sees bands, she sees DJs, like she knows what's going on in this city. She supports it. And so sure, her really taking the reins and us really over the last few years focusing on, we have this platform and people are watching. This is awesome. Like, and a lot of these people who are, we're fans of, there's other soul clubs from around the world. And yeah, exactly. Like there's no barriers or borders really. We're all into the same thing. And the amount of support that we get back from other people is so insane. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And also using the opportunity to fundraise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Big, well,
Very cool.
where's this alarm coming from?
Oh, it's just my
Yeah.
kitchen. It's burning down right now.
Oh.
Oh no.
I'm like, do we need to exit the building?
Yeah. Like,
Listen, I would never, ever leave a live stream. I don't care what's burning. The records are behind me. Everything is A-okay over here. But we're at about an hour and 20 minutes, and just for the sake of saving this and everything, I've ran through my questions. I thank y'all so much for making time to join me, to be able to give us a lens into Toronto Soul and who you all are as collectors and DJs. If there's ever anything I can do to support you further, or you want to come back, all you have to do is reach out, and I'd be happy to help.
Wax, thank you so much, man. This has been
Thank
fabulous.
you.
And thank you for giving us this time. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. I want y'all to have a
Yes, thank
fantastic
you.
night. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. This stream will be available in the next hour or so online. I'll make sure that I tag all y'all so you can share it too. But thank you so much for being here. Have a fantastic night. Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. We're out. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you guys.